If you watched my review of Impact last week, you learned two things. Number one, that I hated last week's show. I thought it sucked on several different levels. Number two, that I hate the current direction of TNA because I think it sucks on several different levels. Another week has gone by. Another episode of Impact is come and gone. So I figured, you learned some things last week from watching my Impact review. It's time for me to talk about what I learned from this week's episode of Impact. The first thing that I learned from watching this week's show is that I still think Chris Sabin as a World Heavyweight Champion of any major wrestling company is stupid. No, there was no great story to this. No. Just a few weeks before he won the world title, he lost the damn X Division title. Think about that. So he loses the X Division title. The X Division title, a division, by the way, that isn't even being really featured on TNA's television at all right now. Loses that belt, then gets it back, and then cashes in Option C and wins the damn title. He's a plot device to advance the storyline between Aces and Eights and the Main Event Mafia. But that makes him a good World Heavyweight Champion? Are you kidding me? Did you hear his fucking promo? It was lousy. You have to do more than be able to go in the ring to be a world champion. If you want to say, well, what about AJ Styles? He's not great, but he's still a little bit better than Chris Sabin on the mic, and he's a TNA original. He's one of the pieces that TNA was built around as a company. Don't dare compare AJ Styles as an all-around ring performer to a Chris Sabin. How dare you? Let alone comparing a Chris Sabin to somebody in a similar weight and height class, like an Austin Aries, a better all-around performer, or go to the WWE, people like CM Punk, or Daniel Bryan, or even to a lesser degree, somebody like a Dolph Ziggler. Does Chris Sabin really match up to any of them? Get the fuck out of here. And then Bully Ray. Do you know who I am? Yes, we do know who you are, Bully Ray. And that's why so many people have started to go in 2013, click, click, click to your product, because nobody gives a shit. It'd have been one thing if you'd had him earlier in the year, win the title, and have this great moment as a baby face, which you should have done, and then immediately have him drop the belt back, and then go off and do other things with him. But no, we had to give him like a 4-month title reign as world champion. And then we put him in charge of this group, the Aces and Eights, and we've already talked about that, and it's just stupid. Bully Ray, Chris Sabin. Who would actually want to pay to go live to the arena and watch this match? Thank God it's not a pay-per-view match where you'd actually have to pay money to watch it on television. Good Christ. One of the most boring, and stupid world title feuds I've seen out of any wrestling company in a very long time. One thing we learned on a very positive note this week, in my humble opinion, is that Mr. Anderson on commentary, especially with Jeremy Borash, is a very good thing. Let's find something else for Taz to do. Let's have Mr. Anderson be a full-time commentator. See, it really doesn't matter much as a wrestler to you anymore anyways. And if you say, well, we're paying him a lot of money, and you don't want to sit there and have him do nothing. No, what he could do is dramatically improve and drastically improve instantaneously your presentation of your television product to us, the television viewing audience. You got people like Christy Honey that you pay a lot of money for to really do nothing. How about having Mr. Anderson be full-time on commentary? You put somebody else in the third spot. Maybe somebody like Bischoff. Maybe somebody like Jarrett. Anybody other than fucking Taz. And I guarantee you, the viewing experience for us, those of us watching on television every week, dramatically improves. And that might cause a few more people to actually tune into your product because they can bear watching it with the sound on for 2 hours. Mr. Anderson on commentary, though, very good. I also learned this week that right now, Smokey is undergoing a semi-boycott of TNA's product, and it's for two main reasons, I believe. Number one is he's very, very upset that the Pope D'Angelo De Niro, the Alpha Male Monty Brown, and Kenny King aren't 3 of the 5 members of the Main Event Mafia. He's fully convinced it's a full-on racist conspiracy. And who am I to argue with him? But he's also upset, apparently, because he still blames Fool Killer for the Summer business and is still sticking to his guns that he refuses to allow Summer to become a full-fledged member of the Deuces and Fours. So I'm going to propose this to you people, and let's see if we can get Smokey to come to his senses. I get the whole thing of Smokey being pissed off about the Pope and the Alpha Male Monty Brown and Kenny King not being in the Main Event Mafia. I'm with him all the way on that, but look at Summer. Fool Killer can never be associated with anything this good. No. I'm the one that brought Summer into this house. There's no Fool Killer Oh yes, you've watched Fool Killers videos before? Oh, they're not that bad. They don't make you yawn said that. But she's not that bad. And Smokey just needs to stop being such a grump. He does. And he needs to let Summer into Deuces and Fours. We're a family, and she should be able to be in there. There's no rules saying that doggies can't be in Deuces and Fours, especially cute little lemon beagle puppies like Summer. That's right. So if you agree with me that Smokey should let Summer into the Deuces and Fours, comment in the comment section down below, hashtag let Summer in. I learned that the BFG series the third time around is really lacking to me for some reason this year. Do they even bother really updating the point totals on the show? Do they really? Or maybe I'm just missing that, or maybe they haven't bothered. You know, that would be kind of important if you're making a big deal about the standings to actually update us on the point totals throughout the course of the night. But, you know, like Samoa Joe and Jeff Hardy, Mr. Anderson versus Magnus, these matches were very lacking to me in terms of substance and consequence. And that's because I find myself in 2013 not really caring about the BFG series. I think it's a very good concept. I don't think it's something that's run its course, but I think the way TNA is currently handling it, it may run its course sooner than it really needs to. And that's sad. There was one really good BFG series match, but it really didn't even have much itself to do with the BFG series, and that was what happened between Kaz and Daniels. What I learned from Kaz and Daniels is that Kaz and Christopher Daniels are two guys that I didn't really used to be into at all, and they have grown and improved incredibly as performers, especially when it comes to the microphone, to the stick work, and you know, maybe it's because they play off each other so well, real life chemistry, friendship, whatever. It's gold. It's one of the best things TNA has going for it week in and week out. And now you're going to throw Bobby Roode in the mix. Think about this. Bobby Roode thinking like a smart man would. He's in the BFG series. Magnus is, I guess, the points leader. Get him DQ'd. Cost him some points. My God, it's genius. And now you've put together Kaz and Daniels and Robert Roode. Shit. I don't know if you're just trying to rehash Fortune, yeah, yet another faction, whatever. But at least with these three guys are three guys I actually will tune in to watch on my television, and they're three guys that happen to entertain me right now. Something that TNA is desperately, desperately lacking in. I learned this week that as I was watching the segment with Mickie James and the Bromance team, and then the six-man tag match, that Mickie James is a great, great women's heel champion with no real purpose right now. Because there's nobody for her to really go against. There really isn't. That sucks. You've got Mickie James, a very accomplished, very skilled, all-around women's wrestler who is also a great heel. You've got her doing something different for your company. You've got her in the role that she's born to be in. And you don't really have anything for her to do. That is so tragic. And it's tragic to see what has happened to TNA's Knockouts division. You know, if I was sitting there, you know, if we were doing this in the real world and I was looking at it and Brooke Hogan's supposed to be the vice president of the Knockouts, she's in charge, and I've seen what's happened to the Knockouts, I'd immediately fire her ass for sheer incompetence. This is terrible. Please get some new life and some new blood into the Knockouts division. You got this heel champion in Mickie James. She could have a long run. Throw a bunch of new faces at her. Please, TNA. I learned that when TNA brings in another washed-up has-been MMA guy with a second-level name, whether it be Rampage Jackson or in this case now Tito Ortiz, they're going to keep the formula basically the same. They're going to have Tito Ortiz come out, say about 2 lines on the mic, and then Kurt Angle's going to tramp his drunken ass down the ramp, say, "I respect you, but don't cross me." And that's pretty much it. He got the same fucking basic promo he did with Rampage Jackson. And then Bully Ray comes out, "I don't respect either one of you." Oh, what's this going to set up? Gee, I wonder, is Tito Ortiz going to join the Aces and Eights and help hype up that fucking stupid Bellator fight between Ortiz and Rampage Jackson on November 2nd? Urgh! One last thing that I learned from watching Impact this week is that 4 pay-per-views is maybe too few. I give TNA a lot of credit, unlike the money-hungry WWE, who insists still upon having a pay-per-view every single month. TNA, now granted they may have done just for the business side of it in terms of not having to have the production cost of producing a pay-per-view every month, you know, the thought of having 4 pay-per-views and having them very spread out throughout the year sounds on paper to be a very, very good idea. But what happens is it can lead to some really long periods between your big events, which can lead to some natural lulls in your product and presentation. If I was there and they allowed me to change something with TNA right now, one thing I would change is I would maybe take the 4 pay-per-views and make it 6. I would take Destination X and I would move that probably to the beginning of May, similar to where Sacrifice used to be. And I would take that Hardcore Justice, which we're going to have next week for Impact, make that a pay-per-view right where it is about the middle of August. So that way you have something, halfway in between Slammiversary and Bound for Glory. And you've also got something earlier on in the year about halfway between Lockdown and Slammiversary. I think it would help the pacing of the product and give us a couple of more big shows throughout the year. Because it's almost like I give them a lot of credit for getting away from the 12 live pay-per-views and doing the 4 main ones and then those secondary tape ones. But I almost think that TNA's show could be improved quite a bit by having those 2 other pay-per-views, like having Hardcore Justice actually be a pay-per-view, not just another weekly episode of Impact. The show was a little bit better this week. There were some things that I was able to latch onto that helped me get through the 2 hours, but TNA still has a lot of work to do, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen because apparently Eric Bischoff is now supposed to be in charge of the creative. And he does a lot of good things from a television production side. Sometimes the wrestling, writing, and booking side, not so much. So it remains to be seen if there's going to be some good changes implemented or not. There will be changes. There's going to be, but whether they're good or not, I guess we'll find out.